And start.
Good evening and welcome to our information evening on the MSCs in Agricultural Professional Practice and Organic Farming. My name is Lou Ralph and I lead the Organic Farming programme, and later on we'll be being joined by my colleague Robin Walker, who leads the programme in Agricultural Professional Practice. The MSCs are validated and awarded by the University of Glasgow, which means that in non-COVID times when we can have ceremonies, these occur at the Bute Hall in Glasgow. The fees for the academic year 2022 to 23 are shown here. The postgrad diploma and in years 1 and 2 costs £3,000 for residents of Scotland and £3,200 for our UK students. Our UK students covers those in England, Wales, Northern Ireland, the Republic of Ireland and the Channel Islands. For international students, those fees are £6,000 a year. It's also possible to take individual modules just for purposes of interest or CPD, and those are charged at a pro rata rate. The third year of the programme is the Msc Year, and that costs either £2,300 or £3,750, depending on where you are. And it's possible to pay fees by instalments. This is usually 6 instalments payable between November and April. When we're able to hold live study weekends, COVID permitting, there will also be additional study weekend costs for travel and accommodation. Some of the APP elective modules also have additional costs linked to the basis, facts and AMTRA elements. You can apply direct for the programmes via our course pages. For organic farming, that's via the PG Organic Farming page and selecting the Postgrad Certificate, Postgrad Diploma or Masters. And there's also a link here for Agricultural Professional Practice, and again you can select whether to apply for the Postgrad Certificate, the Diploma or the Masters. The programme's run by part-time online distance learning. We use a blended approach with study weekends which are held at our Aberdeen campus, COVID restrictions permitting. Obviously during COVID times, we're running the programmes as 100% online, but we're hoping to return to some face-to-face elements of the programme in the spring this year. Our entry requirements are nominally a degree in a science, technology or other topic relevant to the sector, but we also look at the likelihood of a candidate to benefit from taking the course, and so we don't set down any absolute academic prerequisites, and all our applications are assessed individually on academic qualifications and experience. The programme lasts 1, 2 or 3 years depending on level of award that you choose. Postgrad Certificate is a 1-year part-time programme. Students are allowed a maximum of 4 years to complete this from the first enrolment. The Postgrad Diploma is a 2-year part-time programme, again with a maximum of 4 years to complete from first enrolment. And the Masters is a 3-year part-time programme with a maximum 6-year period to complete from first enrolment. This means that it is possible to take some time out during the duration of the programme if you wish. As far as time commitment goes, the PG DIP has study weekends held at our Aberdeen campus when that's possible. The MSc has weekday study sessions, which are also usually held in Aberdeen. We also recommend that students spend 12 to 15 hours a week on self-directed study. The Postgrad Certificate, which is achieved at the end of year 1, consists of 4 taught modules, and the Postgrad Diploma achieved at the end of year 2 has an additional 4 taught modules, making 8 in total. The third year for the Master of Science degree consists of an independent research project. I'd now like to hand over to Robin to carry on with a bit more information.
Good evening. Could you forward the slide, please, Lou? Thank you. Yeah, so I'm just going to briefly talk a little bit about the study weekends. So as you can see here, there's a plane flying into Aberdeen, so you can attend the event. And I'm reliably informed there's a Swift. There's a little black dot in the bottom left-hand corner. So yeah, can you move on a slide, please, Lou? So in terms of the study weekends are really based around the main teaching blocks. So the start of both the APP and the organic farming courses is normally the first week of September, and that goes through to kind of mid-January. And then the second teaching block would be from mid-January through to June. Slide, please. And the online learning environment that we use is a system called Moodle. So you may have come across that before, or Blackboard is another similar type thing, but we use Moodle at SRUC. And the example in the picture there just gives an idea of the layout of how the modules put together. So in this instance, there's various tiles that you can click on for the different sections, and there's lots of information based in there in kind of subsections. Go on, please, Lou. So in terms of the learning strategies, as Lou mentioned, there's probably in the order of 12 to 15 hours of self-directed study that will be reasonably typical for the per week for the two modules that you'll be doing in each semester. Obviously, there's an awful lot of reading linked to that, so a lot of that information will be based in Moodle itself and leading you to other sources of reliable information. There's also going to be some emphasis on academic writing style, and one of the things that we try and do is to provide useful feedback or critical feedback to help students improve as time goes on, because a lot of students haven't necessarily come immediately from an academic background, and so we need to kind of ease people into that type of thing, academic writing style. Another key thing at this postgraduate level is actual critical analysis of the information that you're getting. So the idea is you go out, find the information, and then you would actually critically analyze that and summarize that in a suitable format. And part of that is how you actually present that and report it as well. And there'll be a range of different assessments depending on what the module is, and interspersed with the study weekends and the self-directed study, there'll be a range of online tutorials as well, which some modules would have more of these and others slightly fewer, but there are definitely links to the various lecturers on the different modules that you'll be taught on, and that's the same for both the organic farming and the APP studies. Could you move on, please, Lou? So in terms of the study weekends, it's a great opportunity to meet staff and actually fellow students as well. And as Lou pointed out earlier on, we do tend to have kind of joint events with the APP and the organic students. So there's we'll try to anyway when COVID's not in play, which is a great opportunity to kind of just meet people from different backgrounds. We always also use them as the opportunity to introduce the new modules and assessments as well at the start of the different semesters. It's also a great opportunity to actually go to farm and industry visits. So again, a lot of those would be tied into the assessments themselves, but we also try and get some general interest visits in as well. It's a great opportunity to bring in invited speakers from the locality as well. And in certain cases, well, particularly the organic farming, it's an opportunity to actually do the sit-down exams. Luckily for the APP students, it's all through assessment rather than exams. So it's the organic farming where there's an exam link in there. And you can see from the images around, not when COVID isn't here, there's a lot more interaction in terms of the study weekends and the evening sessions. So there's various examples there of barbecues and ceilidhs and things like that, where it's a great chance to get to the social side of things. And actually, that's where you build up a lot of the networking as well for the future. So what do you need for a good learning experience? Well, one of the key things is reliable internet access. Obviously, we're using Moodle as the online portal for the information, so you need to be able to access that. You need access to reasonable browsers, Chrome or Firefox, so something that will work effectively and is not outdated. You also need a reasonable computer or device with a microphone and preferably camera, because obviously with it being distance learning, when we have the online tutorials, you need to be able to communicate with fellow students and your lecturers as well. And it's also very handy to have knowledge of Microsoft packages or similar, like the OpenOffice type software, such as Word, Excel and PowerPoint, to be able to kind of do the work and the assessments. Can we move on now, Luke? So what is needed for a good learning experience? Well, one of the key things is actually a quiet space, which you can actually just get on with learning. You don't really want loads of kids running around a place or washing machines in the background or all this kind of stuff. I guess over the last couple of years, that's been pretty apparent in terms of the workplace. But it's certainly true of trying to actually get information into your head and understand what's going on. The other thing you need to do is try and set aside time to do the work and actually have the motivation as well to do that, the desire to do that. In terms of the postgrad, because it's a lot of it's about critical analysis of what's going on or the information that you're doing, you need to have an open mind. You need to have a desire to kind of learn, seek out additional information, and a balanced set of information as well. And you also want to try and succeed, obviously, because we want you to get your various, whether it's a PG Cert, PG Dip or the Masters. So we really want that to happen, and that's great for you to do that. The other thing is you need to be able to, or willing to communicate, obviously, as part of sort of the online tutorials and the study weekends. That's the big plus. But also, if there is a problem of some description, we're there to try and help. So there's kind of pastoral care and things like that. So it's definitely worthwhile letting the staff know if there's an issue before it actually, before it gets too bad. And then we can try and sort of organise some kind of help to help you through the system or the situation. Come on, please, Lou. So following on from that, we do have a student support team. So we have educational support, we have pastoral support, and we also have careers advice service. And some of these are linked to a range of different things. So it could be if people in financial difficulties, there may be opportunities to access funding to help towards that. Obviously, because it's an online, a lot of the information is done online. We have IT backup to help people access all the different aspects. So, for example, all the email, you'll get a student email, SRUC student email. Obviously, you need to be able to access Moodle and all this kind of thing. So there's IT backup. And actually, on the very first study weekend, one of the first things we do is actually try and arrange to make sure that everybody's information setup is functioning properly, so that there's no problems later on once things get going in terms of the actual modules that you're taking at that point in time. Similarly, there's the library service. So obviously, one of the key things you're trying to do is improve your information gathering and analysing or critically analysing that set of information. So you want to have access to a good set of useful information. So there's lots of different databases that you can access through the SRUC library, and the library staff are really, really helpful at putting students in the right, point them in the right direction of how to access various pieces of information. And likewise, any other kind of support or request would be viewed favourably. So we try our best to help students out wherever we can in whatever problems may pop up. Thanks, Lou.
So I'll now talk you through a bit of information about the organic farming programme specifically. We do have a teaching partnership with the Organic Research Centre, which we've had formally in place for a number of years now. But in addition to that, we also have a very good working relationship with the National Organic Training Skillnet in Ireland. And over a number of years, they have financially supported students from the Republic of Ireland. So I'm the programme leader. I'm based at SRUC in Aberdeen on the Craveston campus, although as with many people, I've been working from home for a number of years now. I've got a direct dial phone number, which you can see there, and also an email address. So anybody who has any additional questions, please feel free to contact me for more information. As Robin said, the format that we follow is that we have study weekends based in Aberdeen during the first and second year of the programme. The organic farming programme has 3 of these. So the first one, which is joint with the APP programme, is held early in September. So for 2022, that will be the 2nd to the 4th of September. We also have a joint programme in mid-January, and then the organic farming programme also has a spring study weekend in March of each year. We have traditionally run a study tour. That's obviously been on hold the last few years because of COVID, but we also do hope to be able to return to running a study tour. There are various methods of assessment. The postgrad diploma consists of 8 taught modules. The 4 first-year modules are a mix of coursework and exams, so they're 60% coursework of various kinds and 40% exams. The second-year modules are 100% assessed by coursework and don't have any exams. In fact, for the last 2 years during COVID times, when we haven't been able to meet on campus, we've had a slightly different format for the exams, which have been a sort of more open book format. For students wanting to progress to the Masters, progression is dependent on achieving a grade of C3 in the postgrad diploma, and then assessment is purely by dissertation. So when you choose to apply for the course, you can apply either for a postgrad certificate, diploma or Masters. If you apply for a postgrad certificate, then you do get the option to progress to postgrad diploma and then on to Masters, providing that your grades are high enough. The course has a number of objectives. First of all, an ability to critically appraise organic farming, both as an agricultural system and in a wider context. And as Robin said, the ability to learn how to critically analyse is really important in postgraduate study. You'll also end up with a good understanding of the organic sector and a sound knowledge of the science underpinning organic farming. You'll get a clear understanding of marketing, financial and audit requirements for organic produce and some work placement experience. And in particular for MSc graduates, you'll also develop research skills. So the programme calendar has 2 modules running simultaneously in each semester. So in year 1, the first modules that you'll study are organic farming principles and practice and organic crop and grassland production. And then you'll move on to studying soils and nutrient cycling and organic livestock production. In second year, you'll complete an organic farming work placement, and you'll also study marketing and financial management. And finally, you'll finish the programme with an organic farming case study and a module called Issues in Organic Farming, which sets organic farming into the wider context and allows students to ask critical questions and write a review about a topic of their choice. So these photos are all taken on study tours, but we do like to create similar experiences on study weekends. And as Robin said, when we have students over on campus, we do try and get out and about on farms and visiting local businesses as much as possible. These provide great opportunities for networking. The ability to network, I think, is something that we've all missed over the last 2 years. And so we're really looking forward to be able to get back meeting people all together again. And these photos were taken when we were lucky enough to do a study tour in the south of England at the time when the Organic Research Centre was based in Newbury. And this was a happy group of students on study tour. These were all students who just come to the end of first year, actually in 2017, but we had a great trip, and as I said, great opportunity for people to get to know each other and do some really great networking. So now I'll hand over to Robin and he can give you a bit more info about the PG DIP and MSc in Agricultural Professional Practice.
Okay, thanks, Lou. Could you move on to the next slide? Thank you. So yeah, so I'm Robin Walker, and like Lou, I'm also based at Craveston in Aberdeen, and you can see my contact details there, my email and my, well, let's say my landline, but my phone number, that you'll get me on that. Next slide, please. So similar to the organic farming, we tend to have, well, we always have 2 study weekends, and normally they would be based in Aberdeen, but as we've said, COVID's scuppered that the last couple of years. But the dates are the same as for the organic farming. So next intake will be the 2nd to the 4th of September 2022, so later this year, and then there'll be another one in mid-January in 2023. And the building, I was going to say, the building at the bottom there is that of the Ferguson building where we are based. In terms of the assessment methods for the postgraduate diploma, if you're doing the PG Cert, that's the first year. There was 4 modules, so 2 semesters with 2 modules in each. And likewise, if you to do the PG DIP, that's the second year. There will be 4 modules with 2 in the kind of September to January and another 2 in the January to sort of June time for that. And they are all courseworks. There are no exams in the APP course. Similarly, to the organic farming for the masters, in terms of progression, if you do okay in the first 8 modules that you did in the first 2 years, and there's criteria there, if you reach those criteria, then there's an opportunity to go on to do the masters, full masters, basically through dissertation, so a kind of research project. One, please. So there's a number of objectives. So one of the key things is to provide an opportunity to add to qualifications. There are also some CPD modules or linked to CPD modules, and it could be a career change into an agricultural practice. So it could be somebody coming from a more business orientated angle that is wanting to move into agriculture, or vice versa. Definitely a student-centered learning environment. So we wanted to try and create a stimulating course. We want the students to achieve their potential. Want to develop independence of thought and an inquiring mind. So this is where this critical analysis and searching for information and making sure that information is sound is really important. We want to encourage that. We want to extend the students' knowledge and understanding linked to policy decisions which are impacting on the rural sector. So there's various elements of modules that be linked to that. We want to develop appropriate graduate attributes aligned with benchmark standards. So basically making sure that we're producing graduates which have the right qualities that fit in with the sector. And we're wanting students to be able to appraise research information or information that they've researched, apply that to sustainable agricultural practice. And that kind of ties in specifically in the latter part in terms of research skills linked to the masters or the postgraduate, the project that you'd be doing as a research project. So there's a whole raft of different things that we'll be trying to encourage in students. In terms of programme calendar, so in year 1 there is a number of core modules and there's also some electives. So in year 1, in the first block, so that's the September through to January, all students would do professional leadership and management, and they'd also do the food and agricultural policy. In the second half of the year, they would do the business planning and decision making, and then there'd be 1 elective module, and I'll go through those in a moment on the right hand side. In year 2, so the September through to January block would be topical issues in modern agriculture, and currently that's actually in joint jointly run with the Wildlife and Conservation Management Master's students. So there's a mix of agriculture and countryside environmental students, which is quite nice having that contrast. And there's also one elective module linked to that as well. And in the second part of the year, the January through to kind of June, all students would do the project management and analysis for agriculture professionals, and they'd also do an additional elective module. So in terms of the elective modules, there's a range of different ones. Some will run in the first block for the second years, but there are other ones which just only run in the second block. And it could be that you get first and second years actually on the same, running the same elective, just depending on when they happen to have chosen that. So there's an elective on animal feed technology. There's another one linked to AMTRA, or can be linked to AMTRA, but that's basically animal health and veterinary medicine. There are other courses which are linked to BASIS, so you'd have to actually go and do the BASIS qualification first, and then that ties into the Arable Crop Protection Part 1 and Arable Crop Protection Part 2, which will be the first semester elective and the second semester elective. You have to kind of do those both at the same time. Well, one in the first semester, one in the second semester, or the other option would be to do the BASIS linked grassland and fodder crop protection. So again, you'd do the Part 1 in the first semester and the second one in the second semester. Another elective would be the innovation and entrepreneurship. Another one would be the integrated agricultural management. And then there's another one linked to nutrient management, which is linked to the FACTS course. So basically, if you're wanting to qualify to be able to provide professional information on fertilizer use, you'd have to have the FACTS course. And if you've done the FACTS course, then we tie that in with the nutrient management module. And there are other options as well. So students do have the opportunity of doing a module from one of the other postgraduate distance learning programs. So for example, this year there's a couple of the first year APP students who are actually doing this sort of nutrient cycling module in the organic farming. And there's another one on forestry, I think, in the wildlife and conservation management, which students occasionally choose to do. Could you move on, please, Lou? Not moved on yet.
Sorry, it won't.
Frozen.
Let's move on.
Oh, something happened. I think we might have gone past. I think it leapt 2 slides.
Yeah, it's being really slow, so it won't go back. I'm trying to make it go back.
All right, let's just click on it. I think just your connection's probably dropped. It'll be fine. I'll come back. There,
oh.
There we go.
Right. About to share. Well, I mean, these, yeah, there we go, full screen. These are just a set of feedback really from students. I think, I'm not sure whether it's a combination of organic farming and APP student feedback. I think it is, but I won't go through them all, but it basically just indicating the kind of enjoyable experience that they've had. Tough, but enjoyable, I would say. But one of the things we've got lined up for you now is we've got a couple of students who've recently graduated in the last few years. So we've got George from the APP course. We've got Philip, who did the organic farming course recently, and they're basically just going to spend a few minutes each just giving an idea of where they came from, why they did the course, and what they got out of it, and what you as potential students may hopefully gain from that if you've decided to take up the opportunity. So do you want to start, George, maybe?
Yeah, no bother. Can you see and hear me okay, Sharon? Yeah. So I guess first and foremost, the very first question is, why did I do it? And the honest answer at the time before I started was, I needed a degree. So I left my first degree halfway through. The lecture-based learning just didn't suit me at all, and I got a lot more from the practical courses that I did as part of that, and I knew that I was a practical learner. So I was working at a cattle IVF company at the time, so it's very much animal health and medicine related, and I knew I wanted to do something because I was learning a lot at work, but I think we can all appreciate day to day there's limits to what you can do on top of your responsibilities for the job. So I spotted, with the help of a friend, the APP course, saw that it was really flexible and that I could swap and change my electives based on my interests. And not only that, even the courses that you have to do, you are in sole charge of organising where you focus those. So, for example, the food and agricultural policy module, because I was learning a lot at work about native breeds, because we were collecting genetics from rare breeds to protect them, I decided to do a lot more research into that and found it to be really interesting. And it added a whole new other element on top of the work, but also made it a bit more fun because the course was my chance to direct it as I want, instead of, you know, we all have, can you do X, Y, Z today, please? So I really enjoyed the flexibility. I really enjoyed the informal teaching and the practical teaching. There was no sit down, listen to this, please. It was all, what do you think? Let's talk about this. How can you fit this research topic into your work? So whether that's on your farm or if you're working for a rural professional company, it was all about fitting it in around you. And I think the last thing I would say is, as much as it does seem daunting, I think if you've got a passion for agriculture in your personal life or as part of your job, it's definitely something to look at as a way to explore that passion a bit further, and also just have some time to yourself and investigate and collect that research information, like Robin said, and mold it into what ends up being a really great 3 years.
That's great. Thanks very much for that, George. I guess the next, do you want to introduce Philip, Lou?
Yeah, just introducing Philip, who's a former MSc Organic Farming student who's very kindly come to give us his thoughts on taking the programme. On you go, Philip.
Hello, everyone. Yeah, I have been a farm manager for nearly 30 years and an organic farm manager for 20 of those in Oxfordshire. I was well aware of the course for several years before I actually got around to doing it, and I had a postcard which was probably in the organic magazine that sat on my office wall for probably 6 years. I think I must do that one day. That looks really interesting. And eventually I got to the stage, I thought, well, it's now or never. So at the very last minute, I managed to sign up and join the course. And my motivation for doing so was pretty simply that I'd always wanted a degree. I never did one at school. I've never done any university training or learning, but it's something I wanted to do. Being an organic farmer, that was my passion, that was my interest. So I thought this might be quite useful. So, so I've got some notes here. I'm just trying to keep track of it. I wanted to consolidate what knowledge I had, organic knowledge, into something recognisable, because I had all the experience but no organic training whatsoever. And I wanted to improve my knowledge and understanding of the subject. And it did all of those things. And if anything, it taught me a different way to think. And the critical analysis is absolutely key. So whatever I'm doing now, whatever problem I might be facing, it's always part of the approach that I use, more so than I ever did before. So it's added some sort of structure to my thinking. And it has given me a better understanding of the subject, no doubt about that. and the opportunities to network are really important. You meet people from different backgrounds, different parts of the world, who obviously see things differently than you do, and you can all learn from each other. But as always, these things, there are always more questions than answers, and people say, what did you learn? And I said, well, I really learned what I don't know, effectively what it is. I mean, there's so much to know, and you find out what you really don't know. You've just scratched the surface. And what have I done since then? Well, it has created new opportunities for me, in that only 3 weeks ago, I moved from my job in Oxfordshire to a new farm management role in Fife, near St Andrews, to convert another farm to organic. And I don't think that would have happened without me having done my master's degree in organic farming. So I've moved to a farm which is twice the size, twice as many people, and probably twice the challenge that I had before. But I feel that with having done this MSc, I can deal with that. But probably 3 or 4 years ago, I think, no, there's no way I could take that on. So it's taught me a lot. But it takes some courage to start it in the first place, and obviously it takes commitment, and it does take some time. But I managed to do it and run a farm at the same time, and it takes all of 12 to 15 hours a week. But you just need to be organised and just stick at it. And eventually you think you're never going to get there, but you do get there in the end with all the help and support you get from everybody else involved. So that's it. Give it a go.
Thanks very much for that, Philip. Sharon, do we have any questions in the chat or not?
No questions, Lou. That was super.
In that case, thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thanks very much.